This is Cast of Wonders, the young adult fiction podcast featuring stories of the fantastic. Welcome. Episode 158 for February 22nd, 2015. After the last few longer pieces, we thought we'd lighten the mood this week with a laugh-provoking piece by David Steffen called This Is Your Problem Right Here. David Steffen writes fiction and code. He's the co-founder of The Submission Grinder and the editor of Diabolical Plots, which we'll tell you a bit more about after the story. His fiction has been published in many great venues, including Escape Pod and Daily Science Fiction. We haven't featured one of David's stories for quite a while, not since way back in 2012 with episode 55 and his story, The Quest Unusual. This story originally appeared in Daily Science Fiction in November 2012, and if you're a fan of Tina Connolly's excellent Toasted Cake podcast, you may recognize it from their March 2013 broadcast. Your narrator this week, well, what more can I say about the one and only Graham Dunlop? Graham is a software solutions architect and voice actor living in Melbourne, Australia. He's the sound producer for the horror podcast Pseudopod and the past host of this podcast. You can find him on Google+, and he occasionally tweets as Kibitzer on Twitter. And now we've a tale to tell.
This Is Your Problem Right Here by David Steffen. This is your problem right here. The plumber's deep voice resounded from beneath the maintenance hatch by the main pool at Cascade Reef Water Park. You've only got one troll left. For a pool this big you need 50 minimum, 75 if you want everything to run smoothly.
Pardon?
Shouted Anita Westgard, the owner.
I've only one what left?
The plumber appeared beneath her. His arms were covered to the elbows with green slime. Trolls, see? He held one grimy hand up toward her, holding a tiny skull. It was almost human in shape, with two thick tusks and curved ram's horns. Poor things must have been starved to turn on each other like that.
Trolls? Anita said. As in monsters that live under bridges and eat goats?
The plumber tossed the skull aside onto the concrete floor, where it landed with a clatter. You're going to have trouble finding new trolls the way it is. If the Troll Council hears that you've been making racist comments, you'll have no chance at all. You'd have to shut this place down.
I've done nothing wrong.
Did you leave them down there all winter without any food after you shut down last year? I thought so. Trolls are tough, but that's too much even for them. You're lucky even one of them survived. How long have you owned the place?
Less than a year. I purchased it last July.
And the previous owner didn't tell you anything about this? Anita took several deep breaths before speaking as calmly as she could.
I am not stupid, Mr.
Wilson, but you can call me Reggie.
I am not stupid, Mr. Wilson.
She pointed at the skull.
You can take your prop and your tools and find someone else to pull your shenanigans on. I have several other contractors coming today.
All right, he said. Let me get that last troll out for you. He disappeared into the darkness before she could respond, and moments later he lifted a tiny figure up out of the hatch and set it down on the ground. The thing looked like a tiny man, anatomically correct except for the tusks and horns and the tough green skin. Anita jumped when the little thing twitched an arm weakly.
Oh,
Anita said without meaning to. She felt torn between revulsion for the grotesque little creature and sympathy for its emaciated state. Both felt faintly as though she were in shock.
This is really a troll?
Yep, a troll. The plumber pulled a nail clipper from his pocket and trimmed off a thumbnail, black with slime. You really didn't know about trolls? She shook her head vehemently. The plumber opened the little troll's mouth with one hand and dropped in the thumbnail. If he keeps that down, make sure he gets more food. A lot more. The troll rose unsteadily to a sitting position.
I am alive?
It asked in a gravelly voice, surprisingly deep for its size. You'll be fine, said the plumber. I'm sorry about your family.
Do not be. It is only a pity they tasted as unpleasant as they acted.
If you don't need me for anything further, the plumber said, I'm going to head to my next appointment. It's not my job to clean up dead trolls. I'll send a bill for the visit with the number for the Troll Council. She nodded, and the plumber packed up his things and left.
So, said the troll, eyeing her up and down, you have food for me? I am quite famished.
What do you like to eat?
Bath water or toenail clippings, skin shavings or hair.
She couldn't help but shudder. You actually eat those things? The troll shook his head.
How far we have fallen in just a few 100 years. Once I held a wagon bridge over a major river, succulent fresh meat whenever I wanted, and tribute.
You want meat? I could bring you meat. What do you like? Hamburger? Chicken? The troll made retching noises deep in its throat.
Excrement! The meat I crave is not from cow or fowl. Such things are poison to my kind.
He eyed her shrewdly.
You wish to make amends?
Yes, I do.
Give me a finger.
No!
A toe. The smallest are of little use to you.
No! He sighed.
Oh, we cannot afford to break the pact in any case. I should never have suggested it.
What pact?
Trolls ruled the world once, and humans were like cattle to us. We protected you too well, and your population overtook ours, and so you became the hunters. The Great Council of Trolls spoke to human rulers of that age and made the pact. Trolls will live if we never harm humans or eat human meat.
So what are you doing here?
I am employed as a pool filter. Humans soak in the water and make a weak soup of skin and sweat. This is enough to sustain me without breaking the pact, and I return clean water to the pool.
So what can I do? Is there any way you can put in a good word for me with the Troll Council?
I have fertile females, and I will start my own brood. Buy Wiccan soup for the troll. This will help me attract mates. Serve only greasy food at your concession stand. The grease comes out in sweat, makes everything taste better. Can you do that?
I'm afraid the fryers aren't working at the moment, but I have another contractor coming to look into that. Thank you for all the hard work. Oh, speak of the devil! A man approached from the direction of the entrance. He was slender and young, with blue coveralls. Anita Westgard? He asked. She nodded. I'm here to help you with your broken fryers. First, an easy question. I know it's a dumb one, but I got to ask everybody. You did let your phoenix loose for the winter so he could migrate, right?
The inspiration for this story came from David's wife. They had spent a hot summer afternoon at a local water park, spending most of it floating on inner tubes in the lazy river. His wife commented that with all the floating humans baking in the sun and sweating into the water, that they were basically turning the river into a weak human soup, and from there they joked about trolls. David combined that with the feeling of that moment just after a mechanic or a plumber tells you their diagnosis of a problem, and when you try to find out if their claim sounds legitimate or if they're just speaking in complete nonsense. Anita's initial incredulity mirrors David's own, as well as that sinking feeling she feels when it becomes clear she's failed to do something she was apparently supposed to have been doing all along. Human soup? Ugh. Diabolical Plots is the webzine David has been running since 2008, concentrating on non-fiction content and podcast commentary. He curates excellent best-of lists for many shows, including our own. We'll link his Best of 2014 selection in the show notes for you. The site will begin its first year of publishing fiction on March 2nd, one story per month for a year, starting with Taste the Whip by Andy Dudak. Whether or not there's a year 2 of fiction will depend on whether they can raise the funds they need. They're in the process of preparing a Patreon to support the project, and in the meantime, anyone who wants to support them can contribute a one-time donation or a reoccurring payment on the main Diabolical Plots page with the PayPal buttons on their sidebar. Much like Cast of Wonders, reoccurring donations are especially helpful. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please lend a hand in supporting podcast fiction. Leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook, share the episode with others, or talk about us on Twitter. We're at Cast of Wonders. And please consider making a donation to our show using the PayPal links on our own site. You can make a one-off payment or, again, better yet, sign up for a monthly subscription. Your donations help pay our authors and keep all of our servers running so we can bring you the best in young adult audio fiction week after week. Every little bit helps, and you have our heartfelt thanks. Cast of Wonders is a production of Wolfsbane Publishing and is brought to you by the creative team of Barry J. Northern, our publisher and artist, Alan Sale, our audio producer, Jeff Height, the assistant editor and head /reader, and I remain, as always, your humble editor and host, Marguerite Kenner. Our episodes are released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Share it, but don't change it. Our theme, Appeal to Heavens, is by Alexei Nov from musicalley.com. Thanks for listening.